Hello, Teddy. Are you ready to build your training week? Let's tell your friends about what you've got on deck for this week. Monday, we've got 18-hour nap. Tuesday, another 18-hour nap with a fight with your brother. Wednesday, treats. What? Treats? Oh, shit. I've unleashed the beast. I guess I gotta take care of that. Why, hello there, endurance nerds. You survived winter, maybe you spent it grinding out base miles like a responsible adult, maybe you half-assed your way through it on Zwift in productive mode, which is code for chaos and lycra, or maybe you just spent it mainlining coffee, watching YouTube, and telling yourself that mental resilience is a training modality.
Does anybody want? I just made a fresh pot of coffee. Does anybody want coffee?
In any event, spring is here. And for those of us in the northern hemisphere, that means you're entering the build phase, that magical time between base and peak where fitness is either forged or fumbled. It's when you start layering in intensity, building top-end work capacity, and actually asking your legs to show up and do something impressive. If the base phase was about putting down those roots, this is the phase about growing teeth. So today we're talking about what a smart week of cycling training actually looks like during the build phase. But we're not going to stop there because a week of training doesn't exist in isolation. I'm going to demonstrate how the week extends into a training block, how your weeks should stack, how progression works, and how to actually overload without just burying yourself in low-grade burnout. This is for fit cyclists who want to train smarter, not just harder. You don't need to be a coach, but you do need to understand the logic behind your workouts so you're not just spinning your wheels, literally. And before the well, actually brigade starts warming up in the comments, let me be clear here. There is no one-size-fits-all training plan. I've said it before and I'll keep saying it. You have to test and adapt any plan to fit your physiology, your schedule, your stress levels, and your life. What I'm showing you here is a starting point grounded in time-tested fundamentals. It's not dogma, it's a blueprint. If something doesn't work for you, tweak it. If something does work, double down. Training smart isn't about rigidly following a plan. It's about understanding the why so that you can make those better decisions when things are going to inevitably go off script. So when we talk about a smart week, what we're actually talking about is a framework, a repeatable, adaptable structure that you can follow for 3 to 4 weeks, adjusting load, duration, and intensity each time. Then after those loading weeks, you'll pull back for a recovery week, let those adaptations sink in, and emerge slightly more beast-like than before. This progression is called progressive overload, and yes, it applies to endurance training too. Just like lifting heavier weights builds strength, gradually increasing your training stress, whether through longer intervals, shorter recoveries, or added volume, progressive overload builds durability, aerobic efficiency, and peak power. The stress has to increase across the block, not just sit there and repeat while you hope that your FTP moves telepathically. As boring as it seems on its face, the structure of the week stays the same. The load inside it increases. That's how smart blocks are built. But let's start with the basic weekly architecture, designed around a standard Monday to Sunday schedule that fits most traditional schedules. If you're on shift work, have Tuesday off, or your life schedule is held together with duct tape and pre-ride caffeine, feel free to shift this to something like a day 1 through a day 7 and just keep the rhythm consistent. But here's your outline. Monday is your rest or recovery ride. Wait, what? Why am I starting my training week with rest? This is going to make more sense when you see how things build through the weekend. Monday should be a real rest day. Not rest, but I accidentally joined a group ride. Not recovery, but I sprinted for a segment. And definitely not tempo because my legs felt decent. No one is handing out medals for pretending to recover harder than everyone else. If you must ride, it should be short. 30 to 45 minutes, 60 at the absolute most, easy zone 1 or 2, and mentally boring. Essentially, you should finish the ride feeling like you forgot that you were even exercising. Think, could I do this ride while holding a conversation, solving a wordle, and yelling at my cat for knocking over a plant? Again. If not, it's too hard. And if you're serious about getting stronger, you need to start seeing recovery days as training days. That's right, rest is part of training. You're not losing fitness, you're letting your body actually respond to the stress that you threw at it last week. You're repairing muscle fibers, resetting your nervous system, quietly stacking up gains that will show up on harder days. This is super compensation, a non-negotiable from beginner all the way to pro. If you're worried about losing fitness because you skipped one Monday ride, it's not your fitness that's underdeveloped, it's your understanding of adaptation. Now, Tuesday is your first hard session in your primary interval day. This is your first keystone workout of the week. Come in rested, fueled, and focused. Whether this is threshold intervals like 3x12 or 4x10, VO2 max, or structured over-unders, the goal is to apply meaningful doses of intensity that stimulate adaptation without pushing you over the edge. If you're dragging yourself into this session and calling it mental toughness, you're just training the body to operate poorly under fatigue. That's not toughness, that's poor planning. The purpose of this session should align with your block's goal. Are you building sustained power, improving oxygen uptake, expanding your functional threshold? Great. Then give it your best, track your results, and make it count. This is where you practice pacing, refine cadence, challenge your limits just enough to stretch them. Don't waste it by winging it. And for the love of FTP, don't half bonk your way through it because you thought carbs are for the weak. No, carbs are for people who want to finish the session with something to show for it. Moving to Wednesday, It's a moderate length endurance ride or active recovery. This is where many riders go off script. The day after hard intervals is not a bonus interval day. It's not tempo because I felt snappy. This should not feel hard. If it does, you're not recovered from yesterday, and you're now compounding fatigue like an over-leveraged investment banker in 2008 or 2025. It's easy. Aerobic, ideally zone 2 for 60 to 90 minutes depending on your total volume. If you're feeling unusually fatigued, even less is fine, but keep this one in zone 2 and not recovery. This ride isn't about chasing watts, it's about flushing the legs, reinforcing mitochondrial efficiency, and letting your cardiovascular system do low stress, high payoff work. Yes, that means you're probably going to be bored. Congratulations, you're doing it right. This is also the perfect day to work on form, cadence control, pedal smoothness, and riding with intention instead of aggression. If you're watching your average speed creep up and getting smug, you're missing the point. Speed is irrelevant here. This is about time in the right zone. Think of it as the connective tissue of your week. Soft, stable, and crucial. Train it like a pro, not like an algorithm chasing caffeine addict. Now, Thursday is another hard session and will attack your secondary focus. This session is your second big rock in your training week. It complements your Tuesday effort and allows you to hit a different energy system, or maybe even reinforce the same one under a different type of load. For example, if Tuesday was VO2 max, today might be high sweet spot. If Tuesday was threshold, today might be short anaerobic work or race pace simulation. The key here is execution. You should still be carrying a little bit of fatigue, but not so much that the wheels fall off at rep 2. This is also where people try to get cute. Don't start inventing intervals just because you're bored. You're not building a workout app, you're building physiology. If you want to progress, you need repeatability. That means showing up, doing the work, hitting your targets, and moving the needle one notch, not 10. Be precise and not performative. And if you're still sore from Tuesday, good. Adaptation is happening here. Now prove that you can handle it. Now Friday is another recovery day or an optional easy spin. This is your margin day. If you nailed your 2 intensity sessions and feel reasonably good, you can spin for 45 to 60 minutes at a truly easy pace. No surges, no just a few sprints, just spin. However, if you're dragging mentally, physically, or both, this is the perfect spot for another full rest day. The goal of the week is cumulative stress that leads to adaptation, not dragging yourself through one more ride so you can hit some arbitrary TSS target. You're training for performance, not playing Strava bingo here. There's also a psychological benefit to having one easy day here. You create space between your weekday work and your weekend volume. It's like cleaning the slate before you add a few more bricks to the training load. If your legs are still cooked by Friday morning and you think, well, maybe I'll just ride through it, stop. That's how training plans turn into injury stories with spreadsheets. Take the win, take the rest. Now, Saturday is where things get a little bit more fun for a lot of us. This is where you do your long ride. This is your aerobic anchor. It's your chance to develop endurance under mild fatigue and test your ability to fuel, pace, and stay focused. For most riders, this is going to be a 2 to 4 hour zone 2 ride. It doesn't need to be heroic. It needs to be steady. If your long ride has been the same 90-minute loop for the past 6 months, it's time to level up. Add time, add terrain, add intention. Long rides are where aerobic durability is built and there is no substitute. This is also a great day to practice fueling under real conditions. Hit your carb targets. Try that hydration mix that's been sitting in your cabinet since last fall. Test pacing strategies. Get comfortable being uncomfortable without resorting to intensity. If you treat your long rides like a glorified coffee shop outing, that's fine, but don't expect them to move the needle. The goal here is building capacity. Do it right and you'll be the one setting the pace when the group ride turns grim. Finally, Sunday is an optional high aerobic or endurance ride. This is your discretionary day. If your week went well and your legs are holding up, this can be an excellent opportunity to add volume or lightly tax your tempo zone with things like 2x20 or 3x15 intervals just sub-threshold. If Saturday was hard, dial it back. Keep it aerobic or make it a full rest day. One extra ride isn't worth throwing off the next block because you just had to squeeze in a little more glory for your Sunday stats. This is also where listening to your body becomes a real skill. If you're deep into a build, Sunday might become a rotating day. Tempo one week, endurance the next, and full rest every third. There's no shame in closing your week gently. The gains come from smart stacking, not martyrdom. You're not training for Instagram here. You're training for resilience. Finish the week like someone who wants to finish the season. Now, before we talk about packing and stacking your weeks, let's talk a little bit about strength training because yes, you can and probably should keep lifting during a build phase. It just needs to be integrated intelligently. This is absolutely not the time to start a Bulgarian squat cycle or PR your deadlift, but maintaining 1 or 2 short focused strength sessions per week can go a long way in preserving the power, joint stability, and muscular balance you built in the off season. Now, if you've already been lifting all winter, this is just a matter of shifting into maintenance. That means lower volume, fewer sets, and maybe taking that weight down a notch. Think 2x5 or 2x6 of compound lifts, squat, hinge, push, pull, done in a controlled, high quality effort. Keep it short, 30 to 45 minutes, and keep the movement patterns clean and avoid failure. You're not chasing soreness, you're preserving durability. But what if you haven't been strength training? Yes, I see you over there. Should you start now? And the answer is yes, but with caution. The biggest mistake cyclists make is jumping straight into gym work during a high-load training block and ending up too sore to walk, let alone hit their power targets. If you're just starting out, focus on body weight or light dumbbell work, maybe 1 or 2 times per week. Keep reps higher, load lighter, and limit each movement to just 1 or 2 sets. Think of it like strength orientation. Your goal isn't gains here, it's getting your muscles to stop panicking every time you touch a lunge. Schedule these sessions away from hard bike days. Mondays post-recovery or Friday before a moderate Saturday long ride are both fair game. And again, if your strength work is ruining your rides, it's not helping your cycling, it's just bruising your ego and your quads. If you do this right, it can be an absolute game changer. I hear so many people, including in my comments, loathe the fact that their sprint or anaerobic efforts just aren't what they used to be. Strength training really provides a whole additional gear when it comes to explosive power. So if I can't win you over on building the foundations and resilience of a well-rounded cyclist, maybe I can sell you on big watts. Not sponsored. Now, here's how that weekly rhythm becomes a block. You'll typically repeat this structure for 3 weeks, sometimes 4, increasing the load each time, either by extending intervals, shortening rest, or increasing total time in zone. Then week 4 becomes your deload. Reduce volume by maybe 40 to 50%, cut out intensity, and let your body absorb the gains. Here's a sample progression build for your intensity days. Week 1, Tuesday you have 3 by 10 minutes at 100% of FTP, and Thursday 4 by 5 minutes at 110% of FTP. Then on week 2, Tuesday bumps up to 3 by 12 minutes at 98 to 100% of FTP, and Thursday you move into 5 by 4 minutes, this time at 115% of FTP. Then on week 3, Tuesday, you're going to move up to 3 by 15 minutes, but now you're going to have a little reprieve in output at 95 to 98% of FTP. And Thursday, it'll be 6 by 3 minutes of 120% of FTP. And then in week 4, that's recovery. Zone 1 and Zone 2 only, we're moving all intensity. Now, I kept things at a very high level for the sake of concision here, but you can see the progression of each workout week over week. It was comprised of turning knobs of things like output, number of reps, interval time. You can also play with recovery time, number of sets, etc. There were not any drastic changes here, just adjusting the stimulus to force your legs a little outside of their known comfort zone each and every week. And yes, your long rides should progress too. If week 1 was a 2-hour ride, week 2 might jump to around 2:30. Week 3, you could start nudging towards 3 hours. Add 20 to 30 minutes per week, or push from the middle to the higher end of your Zone 2 range if you don't have the flexibility to add more time. Endurance progression is still progression. Now, let's address the 80-20 elephant in the room. The Polarized training principle espouses that 80% of your riding should be done at low intensity and 20% at high intensity. I'm not going to get into the pyramidal versus polarized debate here, but I will say that 80-20 tends to be a pretty reliable guideline for moderate to high volume riders in this phase of training. There's only so much intensity the body can absorb per week. So if you're riding 5 to 6 days per week with endurance work and interval recoveries, you'll almost invariably end up somewhere in that range of 80-20. So if you're riding 10 hours per week, that's about 2 hours at intensity, not just 2 hours of total workout time on those intensity days. Doing the fat math is a pretty good way of getting a sense check for your balance at this time of the year. In your base season, you might have been at 90-10 or even 95-5, but now it's time to step things up. Now, if you're in that 4 to 6 hour range, that's where things get a little bit more fuzzy. At lower volumes, you can afford to spend a greater percentage of your time at higher intensities, as long as you're still including sufficient aerobic work. The truth is, when you've got more built-in recovery simply because you're riding less, you can hit intensity a little bit more often without overloading the system. This might mean 30 to 40% of your training spent at threshold, VO2 max, or anaerobic workloads, and that's okay. The key is to avoid swinging way too far the other way and turning every ride into an interval fest. That's not high performance, that's unsustainable. Here's a realistic build phase for a time crunch rider training 4 to 6 hours. Day 1, rest. Day 2, 45-minute workout with 4 by 5 minutes at VO2 max. Day 3, 60 minutes at Zone 2. Day 4, rest or 45-minute active recovery. Day 5, 60-minute workout with 3 by 12 minutes at sweet spot. Day 6, 2-hour long ride at Zone 2. And Day 7, optional 60-minute tempo or recovery. In this model, if you're closer to that 4-hour range, you just protect those workouts from days 2, 3, 5, and 6, flexing what days they land on where needed, and then you add in those additional days where your schedule permits. Yes, that's still a smart build phase. Yes, you can still get faster on that, and it's more than receptive to progressive overload. What matters is intentionality, how your workouts are chosen, and how the system is stressed and recovered, not the mathematical perfection of your zone distribution. You're still building an aerobic engine. You're just using the time you have with purpose. So let's recap. A smart week of cycling training in the build phase doesn't mean cramming in hero rides until your legs revolt. It means having structure, progression, and recovery. It means stacking weeks intentionally to build that training block that actually leads somewhere. This is the stuff that turns training into transformation. Don't let the flashy group rides or one-off FTP tests fool you into chasing numbers instead of fitness. If you're building towards something this year, and I really hope that you are, then build smart, build slow, and build consistently. That's how you win your summer rides before summer even shows up. Now, drop your current training structure in the comments. I want to know what you're building, where you're headed, and what part of this video you're already thinking about stealing. Like this video if you needed that structure or sarcasm. Subscribe if you haven't already. And as always, I'll catch you in the next one. See ya.